Hey, Lindsay, how are you?
Hey, Michelle. I'm doing good. I'm happy to be on the microphone with you today. I do have a question for you, though. You ready?
Okay. All right. Sure.
So, is there anyone that you wish you knew better in your life, but you just haven't had that chance to get to know them? Anyone you can think
Mm.
of?
Well, I've moved to a new place, and so most people I meet are new to me. So there
Yeah.
are people that when you meet them right away, you almost feel like you could be friends with that person, but as an
Yes.
adult, it takes a little bit of time
Yeah.
to kind of move that forward. So certainly, there have been a lot of people who I meet who I think I would like to get to know you better. But I can't think of anybody
Yeah.
specifically. What about you?
Yeah, actually, someone comes to mind who I was just chatting with last night. So there's this
Oh,
this guy I know. He is in my meditation community. So he's
uh-huh.
so it's kind of cool when you realize that you overlap with someone in like three different aspects of your life. And I realized with this particular
Oh,
guy, so he's in my meditation community, which is probably 50 people in the city of Denver that we go on Sundays and we
uh-huh,
meditate together. So that's
uh,
one. He is in my run club, which means
mhm.
he likes to run and he likes to drink beer because we go for beer after the run. That's what we were chatting last night at the run club. And he lives an active, he likes to ski and hike. He likes to hike and
Ah,
camp and be outdoors.
uh-huh.
And I was like, oh my gosh, we share three huge aspects of
Right,
our lives
right.
in common. And I would like to get to know him better. I think we will. I think we'll become friends. It's just a matter of time. You can't push things and try to make
Yep,
something happen. It
yep.
has to happen very naturally. So,
Right. It's so true. It's so
yeah.
true. So, all right, well, let us know how it
I
goes.
hope so. Yeah, totally. So, Michelle, this episode is based on a listener question, right?
Mhm. Yep,
Cool.
yep,
Yep.
absolutely. So
Good.
this was given to us on YouTube.
Yes.
But before we read the question, we want to let you guys know that we are super excited about our brand new course
Yes.
that is coming out soon. Lindsay, tell us a little bit about it.
I am excited. So, guys, this is new. It is new and shiny and never seen before, right? This is our advanced level English course. And so, for our listeners who are in B1, B2, which we launched earlier this year and last year, you'll be ready now for
Yep.
C1. Includes the connection method, of course, which means everything is based on real conversations. We don't manufacture any language.
Nope.
And there's lots of new ways to speak now if you're involved with our courses. So, open conversation club, weekly Q&A, monthly fluency party where we get to meet you guys. So, get on the list. It is an exclusive list. Well, you'll make sure that you hear about it
Mhm.
when it goes live and becomes available. Michelle, what's that link to go and
Go
get on that
to,
list?
yeah, guys, go to allearsenglish.com/C1. That's the letter
Yes.
C, number one.
All right, good stuff. So this particular YouTube listener, again, it's at 775 Shahrukh. All right.
Mhm.
What did they ask, Michelle?
Ask, what does all too well mean? They say, I know, how is I know you different from I know you all too well?
Yeah.
Does it express sarcasm? So, this is a good question. I'm excited to dive into this one.
Yeah, it seems like a simple question, but it actually opens a whole language mechanism that we're going to teach you guys today. That's
Yep.
quite high level, actually. This
Oh,
one would
yeah.
fall into the B2 C1 level, but it is accessible to all of our listeners today. So, let's
Mhm.
get into it, Michelle. Where do we start?
Okay, so I think that this expression all too well has become more popular because do you know
Oh.
this song?
I didn't know that. Interesting. Taylor Swift, she named a
Yeah,
song
she has a song and it's
after.
called All Too Well. I'm not a Swiftie or anything, but I
Oh.
know the song. And so it's called All Too Well. So I'm wondering if maybe this listener has heard this in the Swiftie world, but I don't
Mhm.
know.
Very
But
possible. Very
yeah.
possible. Mhm.
So, but it's not only Taylor. She didn't make this up. Like she made up the song, but she didn't make up the expression all too well. But yeah, if you want to listen to that song, apparently it's I think it's a very long song, but I think it's very good.
Okay.
So
It'd be an
yeah.
interesting challenge to have our listeners before they listen to this episode go listen to that song and see if you can figure out the meaning of it based on listening to the song and then come back to this and hit play on this episode again. That would be kind of cool.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about what this means outside of the Swiftie world.
Yeah.
So the listener asks, what is the difference between I know you and I know you all too well? So yeah, it's very interesting. So let's start with I know you. What do you think about this one, Lindsay?
This is very straightforward, Michelle. So it's basic sounding. I know you, meaning I'm familiar with you. Maybe you're a friend or an acquaintance. I have an understanding of you. Okay.
How so? I mean, for example, oh, I know you. I can't believe we're running into each other here.
Yes, I like that. Or can I read the next one, Michelle? The next example?
Yes. Well, so this one's a little bit different. So this one, do you ever hear when someone goes, I know you?
I know you. Right. So we're going to have to differentiate between these two. So let me do the next one and then we'll see the difference here. So these are little variations on just I know you, right? So, oh, come on. I know you. You would never skip dessert. Are you feeling okay? All right, that's me. That's me for sure. Is that you, Michelle?
Yeah, I was thinking about you and your ice cream.
Oh, I know. If I have an opportunity to get dessert, I will definitely.
Yeah, someone might think if you don't get ice cream, Lindsay, somebody might think, oh my gosh, is Lindsay feeling okay?
Well, the worst is when like it, you're celebrating someone's birthday or so you're out for an event and you think that you see eye to eye with this person on dessert choice, but it's their choice for the dessert and everyone's going to get it, and then they choose something really wrong.
Is that okay? I have a question for you. Is there a dessert that you don't really like?
Yeah, I mean, so it's not that I don't like any dessert. It's more when I have an option for something like deep and robust chocolatey, and then someone goes and chooses like a lemon cake or creme brulee. I get so disappointed and almost upset with them.
Well, you're thinking you're sharing the dessert, right? You're like, right. Yeah, that is so funny. Well, so for me, it's carrot cake.
Oh, you hate it again. But what about the frosting? It's so good, that cream cheese frosting. You don't like that?
It's just to me, there's no point for the whole thing. I mean, but I might be that person that suggests a lemon meringue. Or
okay, we can't go for dinner.
Yeah. oh my gosh. But this is true. I mean, I might say to you, Lindsay, oh, come on, I know you won't skip dessert, right? So this is just it's saying the same things. It's saying the same three words. I know you, but when you add a little bit of to it, it changes the meaning.
Yes, exactly. And the first one, let's just go back to that first example. I know you. I can't believe we're running into each other here. It's just it's what you would say.
Neutral.
It's what you would say when like the friend that I want to become friends with. I realized he was in the run group and he ran past me as we were going to the brewery. Like, I know you, right? You could say that. You're here. I didn't know you were in this run group, right? So that kind of thing. So they both mean the same thing, but there are essentially different ways to use this phrase. I know you. But
exactly.
Now, Michelle, we're going to move on to something
turn
more
it into Taylor Swift's version.
Yeah,
no, I'm just joking. Now let's talk about I know you all too well. So to know something or someone all too well is to really know it.
Yes.
To really be very familiar with that person or the situation. And interestingly enough, the listener asked about sarcasm. It can have a hint of sarcasm too, depending on the context. And we'll share different examples, of course. But it can also just mean you really know something. But what's different about this is there's a little bit of extra subtext to it. There's a little bit more beneath the surface.
Right. It's a little loaded, a little more loaded, let's say. Right. Yeah.
So what's an example?
Yeah. So I know the traffic in this area all too well. Right. So so what are we saying? Just on the surface, what do we think we're saying as opposed to I know the traffic in this area?
Right. It's just showing you have experience with the traffic. You know that it's bad. You're very familiar with it. You have some feeling about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the key. I think that's really what it is it's probably bad, and you know that. You have
Yeah.
that insight. So, I
All
don't I
too
don't
well.
think you would say this if the traffic is very light and it's very easy, right?
No.
It's usually implying
No.
something's on the negative side, don't you think?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, actually, you're right. In the next in the
Mhm.
next example, we have the same thing. So
Right.
let's share it. So, are you considering promoting Hillary? Yeah, I know her all too well. I'd reconsider.
Oh, right. Okay, so you're saying there's something wrong with Hillary here,
Yeah.
and it's not the right move to promote her. Maybe promote someone else, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so it does have a subtext and undertone of this thing is kind of negative, and I
Mhm.
understand that more than most people do, maybe, right? I have a
Mhm.
special view of it or insight into it.
Right. So, I
Mhm.
mean, what do you think about the sarcasm question? It's not necessarily
I
sarcastic. It's more.
mm.
What do you think?
Well, I think it might qualify as a form of sarcasm.
Right.
I think it falls into the ballpark of sarcasm in a
A
way.
sarcasm
If
ballpark.
we have to use baseball idioms, you know. Yeah, I think it's there's a lot of different ways to use sarcasm. So, on the surface, maybe that people might think that sounds positive, but it's being a little negative, a little cynical the way we're saying
Mhm.
it, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Let's give a few more examples here, Michelle.
Okay.
I
All
know
right.
you all too well. You definitely need to leave 20 minutes early. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could have also said, "I know you," right?
Right. You
I
could
think
have.
that those are very similar. If you just do the "I know you" and really
Right.
punch the "no," it's almost the same.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
I would agree with that.
I would say it's almost interchangeable. Maybe "all too well" is just a little bit more. Sounds. What would you say?
Yeah,
I don't know.
a little it adds a little negativity to it,
Yeah.
I think. I know you all too well.
Right.
You
Right. Right.
definitely need to leave 20. Yeah, I think it just adds an extra layer of cynicism of I know what's going to
Mhm,
happen. I
mhm,
have
mhm.
insight. I understand the traffic's going to be bad, that Hillary shouldn't be promoted and right? Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, so again, this can be about a person or a thing, right? So some
Yeah.
of our examples like Hillary, person, the traffic, a
Mhm.
thing. So you have to read each situation for the subtext, but definitely the expression adds something to the situation, a certain subtext, generally negative.
Yeah, we're giving our listeners lots of options today to not
Yeah.
just say something in a straightforward way, but to add their own sort of emotions or thoughts onto
Yeah.
what they're saying. It's pretty cool, actually. Yeah. Okay, Michelle. So there are similar ways to get at the same idea, right?
Mhm.
So this one's more straightforward. I'm
Yes.
very familiar with X. Like I know
Mhm.
X, right?
Mhm.
So
Right. It's
yeah,
more than neutral. It's more the neutral version, right? So
neutral.
like
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with her work. Now, depending on how you say it, right? If you say, "Oh, I'm very familiar with her work," sounds like yeah, she's probably pretty good. But if you say, "I'm very familiar with her work," right? That's where you
Yeah.
start to realize what's
Yeah.
going on.
So that's why you can get to the cynicism that exists in all too well by just using tone of voice and understanding
Yep.
subtext of not just what you're saying, but what the other person has said.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
So
Yep.
there's always an undertone in conversations.
Yeah.
Maybe you're talking about this person's work and everyone thinks it's overrated, right? You're at a
Mhm.
gallery, everyone thinks that work is overrated. Then yeah,
Mhm.
I know all about, or I'm very familiar with her work, right? Okay.
Ooh. So what's the next one, Lindsay?
So I mentioned it just a few seconds ago. I know
Mhm.
all about X. And again,
Mhm.
you could add tone of voice and get to the same impact with this one too.
Mhm.
So for example, I know all about that issue. Someone starts to tell you, I don't know, what would be a situation here, Michelle, with this one?
Maybe workplace gossip.
Okay.
And I say, "All right, yeah, I know all about that issue. I've tried to fix things, but something like that."
Yeah, I was actually thinking that that could totally work workplace gossip. I was thinking maybe would this be useful in a situation where someone is mansplaining or womansplaining something to you? And I didn't just say mansplaining. I said mansplaining or womansplaining. It happens on both genders.
Right.
We'll have to go into that another day, but it's
Yeah.
basically when someone basically talks at you and kind of lectures you about a topic usually that you know more about than they do,
Right.
but they just want
Right.
to assert their dominance. And so
Right.
they just tell you all about it.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. Exactly. So funny.
So I guess this
But
this
yeah.
could be something you could use. Sometimes it's not very helpful in that sort of scenario, but I suppose you could say that. Yeah, I know all
Mhm.
about the politics of Africa. I've been studying it my whole life, right? Something
Right.
like that. Yeah.
Right. Or the last one is I'm well aware, right?
Mhm. Yes.
So this one can definitely have an attitude with it. I'm
Yes.
well aware, right? Or even
Mhm.
sometimes people might just say I'm aware.
Yes, I'm aware. I'm aware of that.
Yeah, I feel like that's usually if somebody's like telling me something usually my poor dad probably I'm
Oh.
imagining him telling me something he's told me before, and I might just say I'm aware, that's
Yeah,
not
it's
nice.
not as bad though. I think with dads, it's just like your dad's just doing his best. You gotta,
Yeah, he's
that's
the
just your
best.
dad. So it's
Yeah,
okay. All
yeah.
right, Michelle, role play time. Shall we dive
All right.
into it?
All right.
Okay.
We'll use a bunch of these. We're not going to jam everything in here, but yeah. So in this role play, we are friends.
All right, here we go. So we are going to stop by Teddy's house to pick him up.
Are
Oh,
we?
sorry.
Are
No,
we?
no, no. Let me start again. Start over. Okay. So are we going to stop by Teddy's house to pick him up?
Honestly, the traffic there will be horrible. Can't he just meet us?
Oh, I know the traffic here all too well. As long as we leave a little early, we'll be fine.
Lindsay, I know you. Do you think you can get out early? You're always late.
I'm well aware, but I can do it. Yeah.
Okay.
This sounds like a conversation that two residents of Los Angeles might have in LA because people don't
Yeah.
really leave their neighborhoods that much, from what I understand, just because the traffic is so wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Michelle. So we just used a few of them here.
Mhm.
We said, "Oh, I know the traffic here all too well." So this does fit what we've said. It's a little cynical. It's a little negative. We know it's going to be bad, and we're
Right.
just
So
saying,
I'm
"I'm
saying
familiar."
I know it all too well, and you're saying like I know it's horrible, but I also know that if we leave early, we'll be okay, right?
Yeah. And then you said, "Lindsay, I know you. Do you think you can get out early? You're always late." Yeah.
And then maybe you say, I'm well aware, but I can do it. So
Yeah. I'm well
and
aware.
maybe you're being a little sassy with, I don't know.
Yeah. I do think that's a very high level chunk that our listeners, if you just take away, "I'm well aware," that would be very high level
Yes.
to take out of this episode.
Yep.
It is a
Yep.
chunk
Yep.
you'll hear native speakers use. And so choose any chunk that you've heard today, guys, and you will level up your English up into getting close to the C1 level. I love
Yeah.
that. Oh my
Yep.
gosh.
Choose your chunk.
Use your chunk. What should be the episode our listeners go to next, Michelle?
Okay, guys, if you haven't already, go ahead and listen to All Ears English. Episode 2294 was How to Connect Over Hopes and Wishes in English.
Oh, I love it. And while you're over there, make sure you hit follow on the All Ears English podcast. So that way
Yes.
you can get all our episodes when they go live. You make sure you don't miss a single one, including bonuses. All right. Good. Michelle,
Yes.
any takeaway for today?
Well, it was a really great question, and there's so much that you could do with it.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be slightly careful when you're using it about somebody, just to make sure you don't offend them. So I would start by maybe until you get comfortable. I personally might start with the talking about something rather than someone.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I know the
Totally.
traffic all too well. Oh, I know these train delays all too well. Might be a good place to start, but if you're
I
feeling
like
comfortable, go for it.
Yeah, I actually like that idea, Michelle, to focus, especially in the beginning, on just talking
Yeah,
about things like traffic or problems or things you might likely
yeah,
encounter. You know, give people a chance to
yeah,
prove you wrong. If you have a certain idea of someone and maybe they're going to prove you wrong this time, try to see them with fresh eyes. I love
yeah.
that idea because people deserve that, even if they've been doing something in a certain way and you know it all too well,
Yeah.
maybe they'll do it differently this time. So let's give them a chance. I love it. So good.
And a good way to practice is think to yourself after this episode. Think for a few minutes. What are some things that you know all too well, so that you're prepared to use this in a
Yes.
conversation? Is it
Yes.
something about your neighborhood? Is it something about prices in a store? Is it something about a restaurant? Whatever it is, make a list of a few things where you could see yourself using this
I love
expression.
that idea, Michelle. I mean, that is rooted in applied linguistics. This is actually how we get better in English is we prepare for scenarios. It's called opening your brain box. We tag this over on IELTS Energy podcast. Open your brain box for this kind of scenario. So you'll be ready to insert this phrase when the moment arises. So good.
Absolutely.
So good.
All
right.
Okay. Well, this was a lot of fun. And thanks to our listener for that really interesting and unique question.
All right. Good stuff, Michelle. Talk to you soon. Have a good day.
All right.
Bye.
You too.